In 1892, the air around Homestead, Pennsylvania was thick with tension. Thousands of steelworkers gathered at the gates of one of the most powerful mills in the country, demanding fair wages and better conditions. What followed was one of the most dramatic labor strikes in American history, a battle between workers and industry that would shape the future of labor rights. Today, that same mill stands silent, its smokestacks a reminder of a time when Pennsylvania was the steel capital of the world. But this is just one of the many stories buried within Pennsylvania's abandoned steel mills. In this video, we'll cover 7 most fascinating abandoned steel mills in Pennsylvania. And trust me, the story behind number 1 will leave you speechless. But before starting, make sure to hit that subscribe button because we have over 15 videos on Pennsylvania secrets published, and many more coming your way. Now, let's begin the countdown. Number 7. Jones and Laughlin Steel. Sitting along the Monongahela River, this massive steel mill was the lifeline of an entire community and a key player in building America's industrial backbone. Back in the mid-1800s, when this mill was founded, the world was just beginning to see the potential of steel. Jones and Laughlin quickly became a pioneer, producing the material that would shape America's cities and infrastructure. Steel from this mill wasn't just used locally. It built bridges that spanned rivers, strengthened skyscrapers, and laid the tracks for railroads connecting the nation. It became a symbol of progress and ambition, with its furnaces running day and night and thousands of workers pouring their energy into keeping the mill alive. But like so many industrial giants, Jones and Laughlin Steel couldn't withstand the changing tides of history. By the late 1900s, the global steel industry was shifting. Cheaper imports began flooding the market, and American steel mills struggled to compete. For Jones and Laughlin, the decline was rapid. By the 1980s, much of the mill had gone quiet. The clanging of steel and the roar of furnaces faded, leaving behind empty buildings and memories of a once thriving operation. Today, the site has taken on a new life. Parts of it have been transformed into modern residential and commercial spaces, like the Southside Works, bustling with shops, restaurants, and apartments. But if you walk through the area, you'll still see glimpses of its industrial past, towering stacks that refuse to be forgotten, and the remnants of rail lines that once carried steel to the world. Number 6. Homestead Steel Works. Located just outside Pittsburgh, Homestead Steel Works stood as a powerhouse of production, churning out materials that helped shape the skyline of America. But this mill was more than just a factory. It was a stage for one of the most dramatic and impactful events in labor history. In 1892, Homestead became the center of a fierce battle between steelworkers and the mighty Carnegie Steel Company. The workers, demanding fair wages and better conditions, stood their ground against one of the wealthiest industrialists of the time. The Homestead strike turned violent, with armed guards and workers clashing in a showdown that left a deep mark on the labor movement in the United States. It wasn't just about steel. It was about people fighting for dignity and respect in an unforgiving system. For decades after, the mill continued its relentless output, fueling industries and communities alike. But by the 1980s, the steel industry began to crumble. Homestead Steel Works, like so many others, couldn't keep up with competition and the changing times. In 1986, the mill shut its doors for good, leaving behind a massive empty expanse that once buzzed with life. Today, the site tells a very different story. Much of it has been transformed into the waterfront shopping complex, where families gather and businesses thrive. Yet, the past isn't completely gone. Towering smokestacks, standing tall against the skyline, are a silent tribute to the mill's legacy. Number 5. Duquesne Works. Duquesne Works, located along the Monongahela River, was once a vital piece of Pennsylvania's steel empire. For decades, this mill operated at full throttle, producing millions of tons of steel that powered America's industrial revolution. The constant hum of activity here was a proof of the determination and skill of its workers, who helped shape the nation's infrastructure with every beam and rail that left the factory floor. Established in 1886, Duquesne Works quickly gained a reputation for being ahead of its time. Its innovative steel-making techniques set it apart, enabling the mill to produce steel more efficiently than many of its competitors. For the town of Duquesne, this mill wasn't just an employer, it was the heart of the community. But like many giants of its era, Duquesne Works couldn't escape the decline of the steel industry in the 1980s. Foreign competition and economic shifts made it increasingly difficult for mills like this one to stay afloat. By the time it closed its doors, Duquesne Works had gone from being a powerhouse to a quiet, forgotten relic of a bygone era. The site fell silent, leaving behind crumbling buildings that once buzzed with life and purpose. Today, the remains of Duquesne Works tell a different kind of story. Overgrown vegetation has taken over much of the area, with rusted structures standing as a stark reminder of what once was. And hey, I know you're enjoying this video so far, so why not give us a thumbs up? It's a small thing, but it really helps us out. And if you're into exploring Pennsylvania, we've got 2 playlists for you that you'll definitely love. Make sure to check them out. The link is in the description and on the end screen. Number 4. McKeesport National Tube Works. In the town of McKeesport, nestled along the Youghiogheny River, stood the sprawling McKeesport National Tube Works. This massive facility wasn't just a steel mill, it was a vital cog in America's growing oil and gas industries. For decades, it produced the pipes that carried oil, gas, and water across the country, helping to fuel the economic boom of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Founded in the late 1800s, the National Tube Works was a hub of innovation and hard work. It was here that steel tubing was manufactured with precision, supporting everything from industrial pipelines to municipal water systems. The mill provided steady jobs to thousands of workers, creating a bustling community that thrived alongside the factory. But as the years rolled on, challenges began to mount. Overseas competition brought cheaper alternatives, and demand for American-made steel products, like those from McKeesport, started to decline. By the late 1900s, the mill faced mounting financial pressures, and eventually, operations came to a halt. The closure left a void, not only in the industrial landscape, but also in the lives of the workers and families who had relied on it for generations. Today, the remnants of McKeesport National Tube Works stand as a haunting tribute to its past. The site has become a destination for urban explorers and photographers, drawn by the eerie beauty of its decaying structures. Number 3. Shenango Furnace. Tucked away on Neville Island, surrounded by the winding waters of the Ohio River, stood Shenango Furnace, a mill with a setting as unique as its history. Unlike the expansive urban mills of Pittsburgh, Shenango's location gave it an almost isolated feel. Yet it was a vital part of the steel industry's beating heart. For decades, it played a crucial role in the production of pig iron, a key ingredient in the steel-making process. Throughout its operation, it supplied pig iron to steel mills across the region, fueling the creation of bridges, buildings, and railroads that defined America's growth. Its workers took immense pride in their role, knowing their efforts contributed to projects that would stand for generations. Shenango's furnaces burned brightly for decades, making it a cornerstone of Neville Island's industrial scene. But like so many mills, Shenango faced the inevitable decline that came with a changing economy. By the early 2000s, its operations had become unsustainable. Increased environmental regulations, overseas competition, and dwindling demand for domestic steel products all contributed to its closure. When the furnaces were finally extinguished, it marked the end of an era, not just for Neville Island, but for the region as a whole. Today, the site of Shenango Furnace is a mix of what once was and what might someday be. Parts of the area have been cleared, leaving behind vast open spaces that hint at its former scale. Plans for redevelopment have been discussed over the years, but progress has been slow, and Shenango remains a quiet, ghostly reminder of its industrial past. Number 2. Cambria Iron Works. In Johnstown, Pennsylvania, along the Conemaugh River, the Cambria Iron Works stands as a testament to Pennsylvania's steel legacy. Established in 1852, this mill was once at the forefront of innovation, adopting cutting-edge techniques like the Bessemer process to produce steel that powered America's railroads and built its bridges. For decades, it was one of the largest steel producers in the nation, fueling the industrial boom that shaped the country. But like many giants of its time, Cambria couldn't keep pace with the changing economy. As demand for American steel dwindled and competition rose, the mill's prominence faded. By the mid-1900s, much of the facility had been abandoned, its towering furnaces and machine shops left to the elements. Today, parts of the site still stand, offering a haunting glimpse into its industrial past. Designated as a National Historic Landmark, it draws history buffs and urban explorers alike, with its rusting frames and weathered structures preserving the echoes of its storied past. Number 1. Bethlehem Steel. Located in the city of Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, this steelworks was one of the largest and most influential in the world. For over a century, it played a critical role in shaping America's infrastructure, contributing to projects like the Golden Gate Bridge and the Chrysler Building. The story of Bethlehem Steel began in the 1850s when it was founded as a small iron company. Over the years, it grew into an industrial giant, producing steel that built cities, powered railroads, and supported the military during wartime. At its peak, the mill employed tens of thousands of workers who poured their sweat and skill into making it one of the most productive steel facilities in history. For the people of Bethlehem, the steelworks wasn't just a job. It was a source of pride that connected the community. But even the strongest giants can fall. By the 1990s, the steel industry was in crisis, and Bethlehem Steel struggled to keep up with global competition and declining demand. After nearly 150 years of operation, the mill closed its doors in 1995, marking the end of an era. The massive site, once full of life and activity, became a silent relic of its former glory. Today, Bethlehem Steel has found new life as a cultural and historical landmark. Parts of the site have been transformed into steel stacks, a vibrant arts and entertainment complex that honors the mill's legacy. Visitors can explore museums, attend concerts, and walk through areas where steelworkers once toiled. The towering blast furnaces remain, standing as powerful reminders of the mill's incredible history and its impact on the world. Now let us know, which of these steel mills surprised you the most? Or do you have a story or memory connected to one of them? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and let's talk about it.